Hey, 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 hey!
It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to get crazy. It's gonna be loud. This is our house. We do what we wanna. We'll blow the roof up. Everybody's coming. It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to go down.
Awesome. Ben's making it look not so good, but
Dude, that's
just his face.
not possible.
If you scoot over a little, that's better, though.
You know what's funny is, so Adam Greentree
There
is
we go.
convinced that Brian is Ice-T in a white man's body. And I've always said that Ben looks a lot like 50 Cent.
I think you're dialed. For everyone that's listening, this is the Gritty Podcast, and we are starting. And Brent's reaching.
It's just instinct. I want to shut the door.
Some brother Brent is running the cameras. He's got a headset on, and I got cousin Ben here, and we're gonna do a little chit chat about
Past hunts.
past hunts. Yep. We're gonna throw some of this up on the open season series video that we're getting ready to put out. So folks, I got cousin Ben here, as we said a little bit earlier. And Ben does a lot of things to annoy me, as I think I established before.
You're just easily annoyed.
I'm the modicum
Agreed.
of behavior, easy to
2 against
get
1.
along with. Ben, on the other hand, he can just annoy you, like, on purpose.
know,
It's like if we're going somewhere
The truth hurts.
and you're like, "Come on, Ben, let's go. We got to get out of here." Ben will actually slow down just to piss you off.
Except for when I'm beating you up the mountain.
That's what doesn't happen.
Oh, it's happened. It's happened.
But
See,
those
here's-
days are over.
I was just going to
Those
say,
days are over.
we look at from when we were young kids
Mm-hmm.
till now. I still have you by many, many years. It's just been the last
What are you
5 or
talking
6
about?
years that you have surpassed me as a hunter, physical specimen. I just don't get to get out and do it as much.
Oh,
I had you on the mounts of time, out in the woods and hunting.
yeah, you did.
Now you've surpassed me there.
I was into girls and sports, which distracted me from hunting a little bit in
the
college.
girls in sports were into me, so I didn't have to work as hard as you. But yeah,
Yeah, so here we are, family podcasting today. And Brent, you're behind the camera here, running the show.
Okay.
and so Brian's not going to be able to get away with any of his
Ben tries to
lies.
say, he calls me up. He'll call me up. Like,
whoa.
He'll call me up. I'll publish a podcast, and he'll call me up and he'll be like, "Dude, what are you saying that for?" Or, "Are you kidding me? That's not how that happened." Or,
At
your facts
least-
are not
at
straight.
least 50% of the time.
This is why Ben and I
So
get along so well. Because
you're lucky. I've been way too busy at home with work and family and moving to.
set the record straight.
Yeah, man, I just didn't have the time to go back through all 377 podcasts. That's at least half of those where you have lied. I'm sorry, but there's no other gentler way to express the truth.
You can right now. You can lay one of those truths to bear if you
Brian,
wish.
it's just because we are family that I do love you so much, and that I want you to succeed and do well. That
I would say, in my defense, I have an opinion, and it differs from yours, and I'm not afraid to share it.
yeah. See, but that's inaccurate. I mean, okay, let's.
Ben's got an assumption that he's always right.
No.
So it's kind of hard to argue with Ben.
I'm only right when I'm right.
Me
Right?
too. Me too. Which is a lot of the time.
Yeah. There we go.
No, but
So you claimed that I can't call elk, and
no, I think I said you weren't very good at it.
No, you said I can't do it. Oh, yeah, that I've
No,
never-
not can't
You
do
said
it.
okay. So this was one of which podcast? I wish I should have wrote this
I
down. I
love
knew
this.
this was going to happen. You claim that I've only been able to. You guys have never called a bull in for me, and how I always go rogue and go on foot. So that right there should tell you that you guys can't call. Otherwise, it would happen.
No one has ever caught Ben on film shooting a bull.
Ben,
Yet
Brent's
I
got a
killed-
point.
But yet I kill
See?
the bull.
Because Ben, you go rogue, which is fine, But we have a plan, and then Ben just breaks it. That's just how Ben does it. But he kills a bull, so all is forgiven.
It's called adapting. Okay. when the plan goes to pot, you got to improvise. You got to make it happen.
You do. So let's talk about your style of hunting, your strategy. Like, how do you go into it? And primarily, you're mostly, when it comes to bow hunting, an elk hunting fanatic. I mean, you're an elk hunting fanatic no matter what.
Oh, I've always elk.
That's what gets you going.
It really does. Now, that's not to say I don't enjoy just about anything else, but if I had to pick, the whole, what would you ever hunt? It would be elk. I just love that bugling up close.
Yeah.
I've never had a mule deer, bear, whatever it is, just the screaming and the yelling and the rutting, and that really, that's very
So if we
appealing.
walk through your archery bulls, you pretty much went rogue on every single one of them and shot it by yourself.
So if we go to the very first one that I ever shot that we never found, it was that raghorn in Desolation. You and Chad, that whole for some
That was-
reason
that was
called that location the Calling Rock.
Yeah, that actually worked really good too. We called it so many elk, it was like a magic spot.
So we had to call it the Calling Rock.
But it had this little knob, and if you got up on that, and there's a big boulder there,
It was a
if you
good
got
spot.
on that boulder early season, the wind would sort of go in a certain direction where the elk had trouble circling. And so you could call, and then they had trouble seeing you, but you could see them.
You had some good shooting lanes. It was perfect. That first bull came in.
And we have
there-
no idea what we're doing.
Yeah, this
we're
is our
just we're
first-
just doing. We went to that Jim Horn seminar in Sportsman's Warehouse.
Oh,
You guys were still in college, right, when you did this?
right after, I think.
I think it was right after. Yeah.
Because
So-
we were both in Oregon. And
I was calling like a banshee to sound like a whole herd of elk. And
Well, it was the
breaking
early
branches.
It was the early season, remember?
Right. It was
And
hot.
so-
It was the first couple days of the season. Elk weren't talking really. And then we started pulling in elk. They would kind of sneak in real quiet and try to see what all this sound was about. And we'd get these shots. Usually they'd bust us before we could get a shot. But every now and then there'd be an opportunity.
You remember that calf?
Yeah, we had a calf come in that would not leave us. Like, ran away, came back, ran away, came back. We could have killed that thing 100 times.
No, we couldn't. We both emptied our quiver on
Oh,
it.
I'm talking about the Calling Rock.
No, the one. I don't remember if that one we emptied our, like, this is our first
No,
chance.
the very first group of elk we called. See, Ben, why can't we get those opportunities again?
I don't know.
Like the gimmies, the first few years we hunted, we had epic elk encounters that any idiot could capitalize on. But at
And-
that time, we were such poor archers
Yeah.
and hunters that, not hunters really, just
Well, see,
archery.
that calf, going back to the calf, let's say that was the first, let's say the calf was the first experience.
When we
that
say
had.
calf, it was an older, like a first year.
Yeah, it was small, but it was worth eating.
Yeah.
We were pretty well meat hunters
Yep.
still to this point, still are. But I just remember doing the stupidest things. That thing's running around looking for, we're cow calling. So
Yeah.
it's running around looking for, like, somehow maybe its mom got shot.
Or got
And
split
so
up
or
or
got
something.
split up. And so it's being dumb, just run all over the place. And kind of like, what was that, Dance with Wolves, Kevin Costner out in front of right on the horseback. And he puts his hands up and then they all just start shooting at him. And you didn't remember that part?
Oh.
It's like that calf was doing that in front of me and you, and we're just unloading. And
Yes.
then we got no arrows left.
We unloaded the quivers and didn't hit that thing.
But my point on that was,
it was pathetic.
it was so pathetic because I had the mindset of a rifle hunter.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking, yeah, that's moving. It's running. It's moving a little bit, but I can still shoot it.
I can
Well, I
lead it.
saw I would shoot it, and then it's 10 feet before my arrow gets to it, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah, we had shot for like a month and a half.
Just bought the bow.
I grew up with archery and shot, but you didn't.
Well, we both had those. I
Never had. I had compounds.
I had a compound. Mine was a bear.
Okay.
It was I don't
remember that. I remember your dad took you out rifle hunting a lot.
We did go rifle hunting.
My dad
every
went
year.
archery. We didn't go out a lot. We mostly shot at home.
My dad did archery hunt with your dad and Lloyd.
Yeah, a couple times.
And
yeah.
I think he only gave it maybe 2 or 3 seasons because he had a bow and he had everything, but he never killed anything, and it wasn't terribly successful. But
yeah,
I ended up getting a compound bow, and I thought that was the greatest thing ever. But I do remember you and your dad. You guys had a lot of the recurves and stuff.
Yeah.
For some reason, I get in trouble for shooting you in the butt.
Yeah, I can't remember. You shot me a couple times with an arrow. That was not the most smart.
Well,
things.
see, here's the problem: is you shoot me, so I shoot you back, and you go crying, and I get in trouble.
Whatever, dude. Whatever.
Sounds right.
That's what happened when your sister. I shot her in the butt with my BB gun.
Yeah.
I deserve getting in trouble for that. She just made me mad, so I shot her.
People at home don't do this.
Not encouraged. No,
we did a lot of dumb things.
we did.
Uh,
I got the scars to prove it.
We had that one deal where we were shooting. I just remember us being like, "Yeah, we'll just shoot arrows at each other in this around the house." And
Surely nothing will go wrong here.
and they'll mostly bounce off. They still had tips on them.
You didn't take the tips off?
No,
No.
you're stupid, man. Do you remember when we
And
built?
I had one.
You're shooting each other with field points?
I had
Yeah.
one stick me in the arm and stay there and like and then hang down, and I'm like, ah, and it's bleeding everywhere, and I pulled the arrow out.
Let's just say I won.
Whatever.
Did win that game.
Whatever.
I shot you. You won the other one where we built these little rock walls and then started throwing rocks to knock each other's fort wall down, and you tuck this massive padlock with a rope and you fling it over to come over the other side of my rock wall and then drag mine down.
It worked for about 3 throws.
Until it landed on my head and knocked me out cold.
It was like a master lock that was like the size of my fist. I mean, it was a giant lock. I don't even know where it came from. But man, I'm like, well, I got tired of throwing stuff at his wall and then him throwing it back at my wall. So if you take this stone, this big giant steel lock with a rope on it, huck that baby over, and then yank on it fast, you're pulling down his wall, and then you can start hitting him with other rocks.
It's a miracle we're still alive.
See, I came along after my parents already had money, so I didn't have this kind of crap to deal with.
We didn't have no video games, no.
No.
Mario Brother and all that stuff came out, but we bought. Remember that Atari?
I do
you
remember
and
the
Jeff
Atari.
pooled our money together, and I think we came up with $20 or $50. I don't remember. And we bought that
Yeah.
sucker. That was awesome.
That was. I remember when the padlock hit you in the head, though. It was the first time I ever saw someone's head spout like a sprinkler. Like,
So
like
let's do a
squirting
list
straight
here.
up out of the head, just squirting like
So the machete.
so much blood.
Did you
Head
forget
wounds.
the machete?
No, I think I mentioned that a few times.
Yeah,
on the
there's the
podcast.
machete. You remember the shovel?
I had been in the head with a machete, like right in the middle of the eyebrow.
Everybody makes fun of my eyebrows because I got none. Well, when you get machetes, padlocks, and shovels, and that shovel hurt. I do remember that.
So
one.
the shovel,
Doesn't remember the padlock. The machete's
the shovel, I had nothing to do with the shovel.
You blame that one on Jeff.
You stepped on the shovel,
No,
right? No, that was a
I
rake.
walked behind you. You're digging like an idiot where you scoop in front of you and you take the shovel all the way like you're scratching your butt with it or something, and you just, oh my God.
Dude,
That one hurt.
Dude, when a man is working, you stay out of his way. Same with the machete. I'm innocently chopping blackberries on my side of the road.
And
Ben walks right up
No,
on
no.
right up on my
Lies.
backswing. Whack!
No, I was chopping mine just fine. I didn't hit you, so why did you have to hit me?
Yeah, no,
We
Ben's got to
definitely-
own that one.
We were definitely not going
Ben's
with the
gotta
blood
own that
circle. You know, being Eagle Scouts and all.
You did get hit more than I did.
Just jealous of my good
Somehow
looks.
I managed to avoid the hits.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
We played a lot of paintball.
That was fun. That was a blast. The paintball, That was cool. Because that gets the adrenaline going.
Yeah.
I mean, it hurts just enough
You don't
that
wanna
you
get
don't
shot.
want to get shot.
I remember playing a bunch, but I remember Russ Kenner being the most.
Dude, that sucker was ruthless.
He had this old Stingray from like 1982 pump action with a, you can't see my air quotations, silencer. It would sound like he was ripping them out in the woods.
The last time I played with him, or not, like the last time I think I played for a long time. I don't remember everybody was out there, but I know it was Russ, and I did this phenomenal sneak. I literally just got up behind him. I was down low, and I went out wide, and I snuck in and got right behind him. And, the rule is you get close to somebody, you sneak up on them, you give them the opportunity to surrender.
We had that rule because we didn't like getting shot in the back and leaving the big welt.
So I told him, all right, you surrender. He spins around, and he starts, bah, 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 bah. And I was so pissed. That was the last. So I was that mad, and I was actually walked to my truck, and I kicked my chrome bumper, and I about broke my ankle.
See, this is the difference to Ben and I. I would have shot that SOB in the back. There wouldn't have been any like,
You know what?
you want to
Yeah, you
surrender?
did.
I'd have just shot
me
him.
in the back.
Going forward, I never gave anybody I never did that again. I just shot them until fair warning to everybody I played going forward. I go, I will shoot you until you scream and raise your hand and say stop.
Yep.
So you better do it. That might be why nobody played with me anymore.
Yeah. I was always game because I would win. Pretty much.
I would just
So-
wear like 6 hoodies, so when you guys shot me, everything would bounce off. No
Yeah,
paint.
that was a problem. Russell had that issue too.
So one thing that was interesting is we grew up out there, and we did a lot of frog catching and stuff like that, and snakes and
Mice,
lizards.
frog.
But we didn't deer hunt ever,
Mm-mm.
and we didn't even really see bucks. Our whole lives growing up, we didn't see bucks.
The first time I remember even thinking about deer, do you remember we found those bones in bags
Yes.
and like somebody poached a bunch and threw them off the side of the road?
Yep.
On the way to the bus stop. That
Yep.
was my first inkling that there was any deer out there. I don't even really remember seeing any tracks.
We'd see does here and there, but
We were pretty young then, though.
yeah. Well, I remember when I was 12 or 13, I had my first. Remember when we got stung with Thomas Newton?
Oh, that was a phenomenal elk. Oh, no, it wasn't elk. That was our first real hunt. Tell it did
Real
really
quote
bad.
unquote. I shot a deer and the arrow bounced off, so we weren't quite shooting enough poundage.
They couldn't have been more than 20 or 30
Pounds, right? I know.
And
And so we
recurves.
we fancied ourselves like true blue, like archery hunters, and so we all had these recurves, and we packed a pillowcase full of peanut butter and jelly and bread
Don't forget the cans.
and
Had
canned
foods
canned
like
foods.
chili and
yeah.
potatoes. And stuff.
And then we hiked off into the woods. Keep in mind, it's like 12 acres or something. I mean, it's like not even that far.
Yeah.
And we're deer hunting. And we got on these deer, and we flung arrows, and we missed, and they ran off. And then we were walking through the woods, and
The whole walking through the woods things, for some reason, being in the back for camera guy or not the actual shooter.
yeah,
So one guy steps on the hornet's
which was
nest.
Thomas.
The second guy steps on the hornet's nest. About the third guy, they've had enough. And they let that third guy know.
Dude, they were underground wasps. They were hornets. They were the meanest hornets ever. Like the ones that are in the paper or whatever nests up high.
Up in the trees.
They never got to us like the ones in the ground. The ones in the ground were
Those are mean buggers.
scary. And Tom stepped on it, and then he just was like, "Whoa, there's a here," and he just kind of stood around it. And I'm like,
Nobody said anything. This has happened to me twice. No one's ever said anything until I start screaming.
see, I'm alert, so I see all around me. Like I'm aware of all my surroundings. And so I saw this thing, and I started to back up a little bit. And I'm like, "Ooh, that's a lot of bees coming out of that." And it was actually raining, I think,
I don't remember.
and I just remember Ben going, just getting totally attacked, like stung everywhere. And then I started getting stung here and there, and I dropped the bag of food.
We had to go back and
I started booking. We were
later.
running, and Tom and I were going flat out.
Did Tom even get stung?
He got stung once at the house. while we were trying to get in the front door.
Yeah, I got annihilated.
I had like 22 bees.
Oh,
You had like
I was
30 or 40,
I was pained.
but we ran as
Severely
fast
in
as we
pain.
could. And Tom was fast.
Yeah, he was.
He's like 2 years older than us. And so the big difference between like, I don't know, 11 years old and 13 years old. But he left us in the dust.
Mm-hmm.
And my boots came off. I was wearing like dad's boots because I was hunting. And they came off somewhere as I was running. And I ran barefoot, or I ran with just my socks on the gravel road all the way back to the house.
It was every man for himself.
And then we were banging on the door, let us in, because we were locked out. And the bees were still on us. And we had run probably a quarter mile.
They followed us forever.
Yeah. It was not your normal set of bees.
Well, see, here's the thing, too. We were walking. We weren't just on a day hike. We were sneaking through the woods, so we weren't going real fast. And so we had some time around that bee's nest before they started.
I don't know. We got stung. Ben and I were covered up in welts all over. So that was good. But there were no deer there. I don't remember there ever being any deer.
Well, if you look at it now, I mean, I hunted that. We both hunted blacktail out there for a long time before I ended up moving to Virginia, and you kind of had it all to yourself.
I was kind of figuring that out.
Yep.
And they were really
Well,
nocturnal.
I was just going to
That's what I
say,
pretty much
yeah,
figured
if you
out.
think about it, when we hardly, unless even in the stand, knowing they're there and hunting for them in cameras, you still hardly even see any of them. So,
Yeah.
but I believe there's a lot more now than there was when we were growing up. Because there's that tree alongside the road with the apples. You know,
Yeah.
you come home late at night in the evenings, or up in the apple tree up in
I don't know. I don't know if there are more or less.
Up at Arnie's house.
I mean, I do know that I know they're there now. You know, I think we, as kids and even teenagers, we just
weren't aware of it.
Yeah,
weren't
we
paying
weren't.
attention.
They're so nocturnal, really. I mean, we'd spook deer when we went down to Abernathy Creek and catch crawdads and stuff. We'd spook deer.
Yeah, but it's so thick, you
They're-
hardly ever get a good visual on what
No,
that
but
was.
they were does. I just never saw any deer with horns.
We had a lot of good times in that Abernathy Creek. Can you remember when the salmon were running? Spawning, I mean. They would come up that
Yeah.
and spawn. And you remember the eels, the freshwater
Yeah,
eels?
yeah, I do remember those. That was crazy.
That was real
I
crazy.
don't remember.
Those died too. They would come up and spawn and die just like the salmon.
We, I do remember waiting until late October because then you get a lot of heavy rains, or November. And then
We almost
then
died.
we get the smallest raft possible because this Abernathy Creek is not a whitewater anything.
On a normal day, you can.
But if it
even-
flash flooded, we would it's still pouring down and we're like carrying a raft down there so we can raft it.
because on a normal day,
Get some
in that-
rapids.
On a normal day, you can't even get an inner tube without getting hung up on rocks or
Right.
trees across it. And that's the scary part. When we never, like who's going to do it? Who's going to go first? And we'd get in and ride it and fall out, and the raft would be gone forever, or the tube or
And it'd
whatever.
smash you up. But you needed a flash flood pretty much in order to make it work. And
Yeah.
then it was a little dangerous. And so my mom started making me have to check in every hour back to the house. So she figured I couldn't get down to Abernathy and back in an hour. But then there was that rope off the cliff, which seriously shortened the time. You just had to dangle off of a cliff and then climb up a
We
cliff
could get down the cliff instead of having to go around.
around,
Yeah.
which was all that did was make us all the more determined to get down to the river and back.
And all it did was make it more dangerous.
Yeah, it made it way more dangerous. So that was good. What would you say, our kids, I worry sometimes about how our kids are raised so different than us. Not that, I feel like just being outdoors as much as we were and having that property to roam around on and no video games, no TV, I feel like I feel like we did a lot of dumb things, like things that other kids wouldn't dream of doing that grow up in the city,
It's a lot different now than it was then. Because can you imagine if we had even the cell? Like we said before, there wasn't really many video games even.
No.
So what was there? There was sports.
There was outdoors.
Outdoor stuff. And so the fact that if we were to be out there raising our kids now in the same environment, they have so many indoor. I'm dealing with this with my sons and even my daughter. There's just so much social media and all this other stuff. And it's hard to think that, how did they get a love for the outdoors? I mean, it's definitely, you're born, I think, we've taught you, and Anthony and I have talked about this a lot. You have that to an extent, and then some people can nurture it and let it grow a little more, but you have to have some sort of a little bit of something there.
Well, for example, on this hunt we were on with your boys, you're dragging Carson out there, and he clearly throughout the trip struggled with the physical, the work, and
physically he could do it. It was mentally.
Right.
It
it wasn't fun.
It was not fun.
It was work.
It was hard work. Yeah. And he didn't want to do it.
Brett and Anthony's boys, they did pretty good too. They did great.
And they're in a little bit different environment growing up in Weiser out on some property where they're at. Anthony's telling me,
The farm.
Brett, his oldest, he's got a cell phone and he's like, yeah, I call him and he doesn't even have it. It's in his room, or he leaves and he's like, hey, take that with you. And he's like, somebody will have something I can use around me.
Takes after his dad.
I just can't
That's
even.
just what his dad did anyway. Like, his dad still does that. He's like, he told me, we were on the phone like 2 days ago. He's like, oh, you shot a deer in Montana? Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know you were in Montana.
No.
It's like, Anthony, did you know that I put this film out of you? Did you know? Like,
nope, he didn't know about that either.
He didn't know. He doesn't know. He's off doing, technology. He's like, Brian, I found myself spending too much time looking at Instagram. So I decided to check out of Instagram for a while. It's been like 4 or 5
Facebook
months.
Facebook and Instagram.
And I'm like, good for you. Maybe you should check in a little bit though. Like,
well, he did say, you know what? I think I'm ready to dive back, and I think I can control myself. And that way,
what's hilarious though is he's like, I would like to do, he's like, I'm going to share some stuff and some hunt, but I'm like, you're too intensely private to at times and not introverted, but just like his hunt is for him. He selfishly keeps it to himself. Then he also has this thing where he loves to share it, but then he wants to keep it to himself. And he's conflicted.
So what about me?
He's conflicted. What do you mean? What about you?
I don't hardly share anything, but I don't have a problem sharing it. I just have a problem sharing it. So when my wife, most of my Instagram stuff, the last half, which is very little, I haven't done anything in a year, is because I go on a trip or something to the Grand Canyon.
Well, you're different than
and
Anthony.
She'll just send it for me.
You don't do it because you're lazy.
There you go.
Anthony doesn't do it because of some kind of weird, personal.
Lazy is a little strong.
Lazy, I like that word for you.
Lazy, strong language. Now I've got you to try and take care of a lot of this stuff for me, and then I've got my wife, and she's failing on her end.
Yeah.
Frankly, you failed on yours for the most part, but.
So back to where we were growing up, what do you think is the dumbest thing? Like, maybe you can't just pick one, but what's up there that's like, what were we thinking?
The whole jumping off of the garage and the roof onto the trampoline.
Where I broke my hand?
Yeah, that
my
was
wrist.
pretty dumb. Yet, I attempted it multiple times. And every time I'd go flying into the side of the house or into the yard or into the rose bushes. I was like, you know what? I can do this.
I know.
And it didn't happen.
I went from the side of the house to the trampoline to the garage. And when I landed on the garage, it was a billion degrees on fire because it was dead summer.
It was hot, Tim.
And it was hot. And I started sliding down it. And then I fell into the rose bushes and landed on my hand and broke these 2 fingers.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I do, but I don't. I forgot that you broke your hand. I remember doing the trampoline, but I don't remember you breaking your hand.
Yeah. That was dumb. That was dumb.
That was pretty dumb. We already talked about the rafting down we could have died there and drowned really easy.
I think shooting each other with arrows and
That was
the
pretty-
rocks thing was not the brightest. The zip line, the zip lines
Yeah.
were always a mistake. There's always some sort of semi-catastrophic injury.
I loved it
as a
zip
result.
lines.
Remember the
I
one
love
that we
those.
made out of nylon rope that I melted halfway
Yeah,
down?
and it just breaks.
Just hit the side of the hill.
We were persistent on that too. We were like, you know what? We've got this. We've perfected it now. This time we're not going to die or almost die.
Yeah. And then we didn't really have a plan for how to stop at the bottom. It was just, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll swing our legs up. We'll kick off the tree.
We can hope for the best.
Yeah. And then you start going real fast. and
I can
it's
remember one time coming out of the branches of a Douglas fir and somehow shirt or something or another branch I got hung up in the pulley, so I got stuck out there. Eventually couldn't hold on any longer and had to let go, and just flashbacks of Rambo going off that cliff and hitting the branches going down. I just went boom, boom, bouncing off branches and breaking them and getting the wind knocked. You know how many times we got the wind knocked out of us?
I know. Like, I think there's a lot of people in this world who've never experienced that.
It's the worst.
It is the worst.
It's
But
you
don't
think
know.
you're dying.
Especially the first time, because you don't know what's going on.
I remember falling off the roof and landing on my back and just
And you know the funny
air is
thing
gone.
is,
Like,
the funny thing is
lungs
like
have collapsed.
it's always you, me, and Jeff, and Tom, and then Breland at one point there. But you know, one guy gets the wind knocked out of him, and all the rest of us like, dude, come on, quit being such a. The one who got the wind knocked, I'm dying. And the other's like, it's just you just got the wind knocked out of you. Quit being a baby.
Yeah. I think the most dangerous stuff was jumping off of bridges, or just diving in general. Remember that time I dove in and went halfway and my head hit the rock
Where's this?
with you in season? We swam across the river and then we started diving off the
Oh yeah.
thing. And I dove head first.
There was that.
And I just didn't
Never
go.
dive head first. That's the number one.
Well, we had been jumping off of this spot
There
for
was
a while.
There was a board that was jammed in the rocks like a little impromptu diving board. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do remember that.
But I dove in and I smashed my head in a rock. And my feet were still sticking out of the water.
He just fell
And
over.
you guys were like,
That's
oh, that
not-
can't
That's
be
not
good.
good. That's not supposed to happen.
And I popped up and I was rubbing my head. And there's blood all over.
I remember it was a hot summer day, and I
Yeah.
remember me and Season were like, dude, now we gotta go. You dummy.
And
We
then
were-
I was
we
like,
were so-
I feel I was concussed. It's mild concussion. And it's like, that river was probably half a mile swim from one side to the other.
It wasn't the cleanest one either.
And it was like,
Was it the Willamette?
yes, it was a Clackamas
It was the Clackamas,
Same
right where the
difference.
Clackamas and the Willamette meet.
meet. And so it was like, okay, now I got to swim across it.
I don't know why they.
I got about halfway across and I
dirty
was like
water.
starting to like feel like I was going to sink. I'm all lightheaded and stuff. I think you had to like pull
I
me a
probably
little bit.
saved your life, and I didn't make a big deal out of it and win some sort of award and get presented at my Eagle Scout Court of Honor. I mean, some people just don't need the limelight.
Let's bring that up.
When haven't you brought it up?
I just want for the record straight, officially, the Boy Scouts of America have declared me a hero. And I,
I don't
have
know if
a
that's that big of a thing anymore. The Boy Scouts are a little.
Yeah.
hey, back then,
Do they let
back
girls
then,
in there now?
it was
They're a little interested.
heroism award, and I saved Ben's life. I mean, there's no other way to like soft pedal it.
There really
saved
isn't.
his life.
You did save my life. I would have drowned. We were
It's kind
going
of
down the Deschutes River,
concede.
rapid, knocked my head on a rock, and just floating down on my face.
What's bad is it's like, oh, he fell out and he hit his head on a rock. I mean, what an unfortunate accident. But this was the third time we had gone down
know.
the same rapid. We found the most gnarly rapid on the Deschutes.
The vortex, or was it Oak Springs? I think
Box Springs
Box Springs.
or Oak. It was, but they called the vortex that one little part
it
of
went
it.
together in a V,
Mm-hmm.
and so everything kind of wanted to
It was
come together.
the class 10 or whatever they are, and
I don't think they go up that high.
Okay,
but
well-
I think it's like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
it was right there. And we would get past it, and then we'd get out, and there was
The
a road.
first time we went down, Brian, I think we only had like a 4-man raft, and we had like 6 of us jammed
Right.
in there. The first time we went down, we lost Jeff and Season. And then after that, we lost.
No, we
were
lost Jeff and
we were
Season.
losing guys every time because they would all get bloodied and hit rocks, and the rest was like, "Well, that was fun. Let's do it again."
So Ben and I are grabbing the raft and we're trucking it up the road and then putting it back in above the rapids and doing it multiple times. And it was like our third or fourth time, and it was everyone had stopped. It was just Ben and I and Spencer
Spencer
Bean.
You two on the
So
edges.
we were on the back.
rodeo.
Ben gets in the front of the raft, right? And there's a rope tied to the front that you can tie on to, like, you know,
It's the front of the boat.
the front of the boat, you know. And Ben's holding on to the rope, and he's standing up, and he's like doing like a
Right
cowboy
before he fell
bronco.
out.
Yes.
So he's tempting fate.
Yeah, he's got
Fate
his
just
he's got
smacks
his
him upside the
feet
head.
wedged deep in the side in the front there, and you're like, yeah. And Ben and Spencer and I are in the back, kind of rowing a little bit, and Ben's just like
Going for the
going
ride.
full retard up there, and then he hits the vortex, and the raft just dives down, and as it hits the water, it pops up
Did a wheelie.
and did a wheelie. And all I see is, as we're trying to hold on and not fall, all flip out of the raft and fall, Ben falls right between me and Spencer, and into the most suck you down wave or rapid in the river, and disappears like gone.
So what would you call that? The very bottom of the curl of that
I
big
don't
old rapid.
Riptoe or something.
Yeah, and it had a
It just spun in circles.
Yeah, it would kind of rotate and hard to get out, kind of a thing. And then it just.
And do you think
beat
you
you
hit
to
your
crap.
head immediately?
All I remember is on the front of the raft, it going and popping its wheelie, and then I was hanging on for dear life, and I couldn't hang on any longer, and eventually I went over the back, and I was like, and then the next thing I can remember is just having, and you know how you, like, if you jump off of a cliff or a big high diving board, you go under in the water, you go pretty deep, and then you kind of swim towards the top of the. I just had the sensation that I was under the water, and I was way under the water, and I was just swimming to the top. Apparently, I was knocked out on my face, just floating, thinking, I'm under the water. I'm swimming to the top. And then after that, all I remember is coming to, and I'm laying on my back on the raft, and you guys are holding me all down, and my head hurts.
It was actually the bank. Yeah.
Yeah, I finally got, and I don't know how I got from there to where or whatever, but that's all I remember.
Yeah, when he plopped into the drink, we had a bunch of other Boy Scouts, young men, up on the hill
Watching.
where they take cameras of people who do this, like the photographer guys there. They're all watching from the same eagle eye perch. Well, after you fall in the water, we start looking around to grab you, and there's no Ben, and there's no Ben, and there's still no Ben. And so then I look up on the cliff there where all the guys are at, and I'm like, where is he? Where is he? And they're like, they got their hands up like, I don't know where he is. And so I'm looking up there, and I'm looking down, and Spencer starts freaking out like, where is he? Where is he? And we're still going down. There's still rapids happening.
You remember at the bottom of it, there was those kind of like lava chutes,
Yes.
and the water was just to the point to where it was only like a foot or two under.
Yes.
So you'd get your legs and everything, you can't
Right.
really see it coming.
Yeah, so Ben's underwater, and then I see him pop up about 20 yards from the raft, and
Was I in front of you or behind you?
you were
Downriver?
parallel to us,
Was
like
I?
just straight across. And as you popped up, you're Ben. All I see is Ben bob up out of the water, and his face pops up, and you see his face, and it's blank. Like eyes are open, and it's blank, like glazed over, blank. And he rolls over, and all this blood is squirting out of the back of his head. Now he's face down in the water, drifting. And I'm like, this is not good, you know? And at that point, I looked at the water and where our raft was headed, and I'm like, and I could see those lava chutes you're talking about.
Yeah.
If I jumped in between these two lava chutes, and I could slow myself down or speed myself up by hitting it with my feet and hands, and then I could slow down, and then I could intercept him. And so I jumped in and did that, and I didn't even feel the banging and the hitting. I was
Adrenaline's pumping.
yeah. And then
Mine wasn't.
and then I grabbed Ben and flipped him over. Blood was everywhere. He was a huge gash.
Dude, it's a good 3 inches. I can't get a nice close haircut because got a massive scar back there.
Just add them up. They're all over your head,
Oh, yeah.
face and head. So when I flipped you over, we both were lifeguards and had all these. When we did a lot of mouth-to-mouth classes and CPR and stuff. Anyway, so when you flipped over, I flipped
You
you
didn't
over.
give me mouth to mouth, did you?
No. Didn't
No.
need to. But I flipped you over and we were wearing bandanas. I pulled my bandana off and put it on your head
Dude, we were
as we
cool.
were floating. You were bleeding like crazy. And then I was like, Ben, hey, Ben. And you said something like you heard buzzing or something.
Yeah.
And then,
When you're knocked out, it was weird just coming to.
and I was like, how you doing, man? We're swimming to the shore, blah, 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 and trying to talk to you to see how you're doing. And you said, Brian, I can't see. I can't see anything. I can't see it. I was like, that's fine. It'll go away. Like,
That'll pass.
don't worry. And I'm sitting there going, he can't see? Like, this is not good. And then,
See, and I don't remember that.
so we were having a conversation as I was swimming to the bank. Actually, we had to drift quite a ways down the river because the rapids were too intense.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty swift. Still, the water's pretty fast.
And you had a good life jacket on, but,
Yeah.
and then,
The life jacket doesn't do you any good when you're face down,
no.
knocked out.
And, so then got him over to the bank. And then that's when you were like starting to come to. And when you were on the bank, and then everybody met us down by the bank, and they were like, "Hey Ben, how you doing?" Or and you're like, "Leave me alone, I'm fine, nothing's wrong with me." And Ben stands up and goes right back down.
See, when I start remembering from that point is I'm laying on the raft and you guys are holding me down.
Yeah,
And you guys said I kept saying the same thing over and over again.
and you kept trying to stand up and be fine, and I had left actually because my hands and knees, and now that Ben was out of the water,
Started hurting.
everything was like ripped open and swollen and sore, and everything hurt, and I could feel the pain then. And I was like, I've been shredded by a cheese grater. But
That
Yeah.
was a fun trip. I remember we ended up, the ambulance showed up. They brought because we were 20 yards from the road, just up this bank, and I wasn't able to sit up there. They got to keep you stable because of head injury, going paralyzed. And it was like a 3-hour drive to the
yeah,
hospital.
we were in
to
the middle of
Deschutes.
nowhere. Yeah.
Finally, they wouldn't let me sit up there, and they took all these
They did CAT
X-rays,
scans and
CAT
stuff.
scans, and then finally the doctor says, "All right, well, you can sit up now." I had swallowed so much water that I let out the monstrous belch in my entire life. And remember Dan Dowling?
Yeah.
He was our leader then. And he just looked at me, and I was like, "Oh, that felt so good." I needed to do that for hours. I still had a gut full of water, but
Oh yeah, I do remember that when we picked you up, you were like, your stomach hurt really
'cause I had
bad.
swallowed so much
Yeah,
water.
your stomach was like in a lot of pain for a day or
But
two.
I went back the next week.
Yeah,
Did it again. I had a free
because we're dumb like that.
I had a free trip with the scouts from, I advanced. And so if you advance in the year, you get to go on this trip. And that was guided.
Yeah,
The one we were on obviously wasn't.
that was. We made our own rules as we went.
Yeah, the guide's like, "Hey, I know you. What are you doing here?" I was like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm good. And then as we're going down that same spot, because where we went down, we went to the right. And that
Yeah.
was the big rapid.
That was the big rapid.
He went to the left. I was like, so
I've been gypped.
I was like, we got to go over there? And he's like, my insurance won't allow me to go over there on that rapid. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
You're missing out.
yeah. No, that was a good one. Thinking back, when you were jumping off the bridge in the Snake River, That seemed a bit dumb.
I never felt like jumping the cliff jumps and stuff that we did. I never felt like that was dangerous. We did that a lot older.
I do remember getting an enema from hell from that one in Clackamas.
Jeff. He was enema prone.
Jeff got it a few times, especially when he was water skiing that time with the front of those two girls.
awesome.
Jeff's our other cousin.
Anybody knows Jeff, need to ask him about that. I don't think we should describe that one.
It was
for
a
him.
2-ski experience with the bottom dipping into the water a few
bouncing
times.
up, bouncing up, and then
Yeah.
finally getting higher and higher.
And then when he
flying
climbed in
out
the
of his
boat-
skis and diving between.
Little
Oh, you're
brown
gonna
turds
rat him
started
out?
falling out into
Pooped
the
his
boat.
pants. We're like, oh, gross! Get that out of the boat.
He was sick. He's like, oh, my stomach.
Just laying there.
Oh, my butt. Yeah.
Then
No,
he
that
did it.
was-
Then he did it cliff jump, and I'm like, dude, come on, clinch those suckers.
But remember when Jeff went, so
the dam.
the dam. So we have this, there's this dam, and we won't tell you where it's at.
It's a great fishing spot.
But there's this
You know why it's a great fishing spot?
Because it's not.
It's not allowed. You're not supposed to be there. We got chased out so many times.
We were young, and there was this river dam, and on the bottom of the dam where it's like, it's dangerous, no one's allowed. If you snuck back there, it was like a water slide.
Yeah, it was like the size of a fire hydrant coming out, just a crack in the dam.
Yeah.
All mossy.
And it was all mossy,
wet.
and it was super steep coming off the dam. And if you sat down, you could just slide down it.
Remember the girls too?
Yes, there's a theme with Jeff when the girls were present. There was a little bit of showing off, or like, hey, check this out.
He went last, didn't he?
We went a couple of times.
And then he
But
finally
what
went.
you have to do, because so Brent, like as you go down this it's concrete, okay? So top of it is like mossy, smooth concrete.
and lots of water.
Lots of water. As
Farther you go,
there's less moss,
and
less water,
It
and it's just
spreads
concrete.
out.
Like brutal concrete, like rough concrete.
So it seems kind of obvious to most that you would want to stand up before you came to a complete stop.
Right, but this is a steep concrete deal. And in order to stand up, it was a risk that you would slam back down, right? So part of it was you got to stand up and then you got to ride it out on your feet a little bit and then like run or jog or try to stop. And look, people, it wasn't the best, but you better do it before you pick up too much speed because you got to bail out before you're going like 90. And so
And this is done while carrying your fishing gear, I'm assuming.
No, we
No,
didn't stash that.
yeah.
I don't even know. Did we even bring in the fishing gear with the girls? I don't
No.
remember.
we
down
were just there to
swimming.
like swim with pretty girls. And we went by the dam and we went down it a couple times. And then Jeff just like, he went full on. He just
He rode it to the end.
started riding it and then he picked up too much speed. And then there was, how do you stop? And he's like, well, I'll just hold on, We can't do that either. I mean, it just was bad. And I don't know how far he got, like to the bottom till he stopped.
Yeah.
And
It
when
was
he
not
stood
good.
up, the back of his shorts were shredded. And you just saw these
White butt,
bloody white cheeks.
red and white
just
cheeks.
completely shredded. Yeah.
Luckily, we had some towels so he could
He
wrap
had to
one
wrap
around.
a towel around his waist, and then it was just
But
two
he-
bloody cheeks. through
He
the
still
towel.
acted all cool. Nothing happened.
Oh, It was brutal.
Girls are there.
Yeah.
That was fun.
No, we did some, I feel like,
Remember our tubing? I'm surprised none of us died tubing.
yeah.
That was pretty brutal.
You mean in the snow or in the water?
On the water.
Yeah.
Water skiing and tubing.
Well, we didn't grow up with money, and so our parents would get tire tubes.
I'm pretty sure the rock fort throwing alluded to the fact that you grew up
Our
quite.
parents were really young parents, and we did hit the Clackamas and some rivers in inner tubes, and
I got one, dude.
Yeah.
Do you remember sneaking that gun out and skipping school?
yes,
That didn't go
that
so
was
well.
a dumb move. I think you snuck the gun out. I just
Okay, I snuck the gun out.
yeah, that's right.
Did you skip school with me? I think it was.
I didn't skip school that time.
I think it was just me and my older sister. Then.
Yep. But I did shoot the gun.
Oh, we shot it. Yeah, before.
Was it like for how many days did you have it snuck out? few days, right?
Yeah, it turns out it was just an old antique, and they don't really make any bullets for it anymore.
Was it a lever action? What was it?
No,
30-30?
I'm trying. It's like a. It's not. It's like a 22.
Oh, it was a small.
If you don't look close, it looks like a 22 bullet, and I'm trying to remember what it was. But they don't make it.
I just remember thinking you were going to get in so much trouble.
Well, my point with that gun was they don't make those bullets anymore, and the gun was ancient and a little bit rusty, and we're just dang lucky it actually worked and didn't blow up in our face. Yeah.
This is not good parenting. This kid sneaks the gun out of the house and plays with it.
Under
For a few days.
5th, 6th grade, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So you're like 12.
Maybe even 4th. Dude.
Yeah. I feel like, though, we were careful with the gun, though.
I don't know. Did you ever do this? This was something I did pretty stupid older we got is I just drove on the roads pre-license. Just took the car and went and drove to Redland, the market there, the AM/PM.
We can't get in trouble for this stuff anymore, I think.
Statute limitations on
Yeah.
average is 7 years for most things, so
Yeah, we're good.
pretty sure you 50-year-old men are safe.
50. Shoot.
44, Brent.
Oh, 44. I was rounding up.
42. 42.
So
up.
when we were out there, yeah, my mom was like, I'm not going to drive you to school. You missed the bus. I'm
Yeah.
like, well,
School, seminary,
can I drive?
any reason for
She's
driving.
like, sure. If you get caught, you're not going to be able to get a license.
Or mine told me if you get caught, we're going to deny anything. We know about it. You stole the car. I'm like, okay.
Same. That's
sweet.
what my mom said too.
Yep.
Yeah. So we drove for probably 8 months before I had a license.
I was kind of dumb. I ended up not even getting my license for like over a year till I was 17 because I was just driving anyways. Why to go get a license?
Yep. I didn't get mine until I was 18. Started driving when I was 14, 15, going to seminary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the brightest.
No.
Yeah. I do not condone these things.
Yeah, definitely
and
not.
I
Not
am
recommend
not. I don't do. My kids will never do those things.
No.
But we weren't raised that way though.
No.
It was kind of a get it done, make it
free-for-all.
happen kind of childhood.
It was great.
When you don't
It
have
was
money,
good.
you just make do.
Well, I do recall, our parents having like a vehicle. I'd say a station wagon of some kind.
Do you remember our brown Chevy station wagon?
I do.
You remember,
I can remember having to go to the store and buy like a dresser. Well, who needs a truck? I mean, we can get it onto the station wagon some way or another.
it'll fit.
I can remember us doing things out of cars that normal people would never do.
It was a pretty sweet day when your parents came home with that Suburban, that cherry red Suburban.
I do remember that.
That was so awesome.
Yeah, that was 1987, I think.
I Dukes of Hazzard that thing. Were you in there with me?
I did it so many times. There's that road, paved road.
Yeah.
Dude, we
I
should have
jumped
broken
it.
axle.
I jumped it to where it lands on its front end and rides like this. And I was like, "Whoa, that wasn't right."
Me too.
If you go too fast, you have to time it just right. If you go to the right speed, you actually get a good little pop. But if
Yeah.
you go too fast, it just
Yeah.
doesn't work as well.
It's not good for that car at all.
Surprised we didn't kill that thing.
Yeah. No, that was dumb.
Is that still parked out there at the property somewhere? Last I saw it was down the
No,
property.
our mom and dad sold it.
Did they? Oh, that's too bad.
That was a
wouldn't-
sweet rig.
I wouldn't mind seeing that thing restored.
You remember when we would ride the skateboard behind Season's car at the park, and then he'd go a little faster and a little faster, and we'd be holding on to the bumper?
We held on the bumper on a rain. We're from Oregon. It's a wet pavement. It rains all the time. We would actually just hold on to it and just slide with your sneakers. Just hang on the
Oh,
bumper.
I do remember that. That's
Yeah.
right.
Who needs a skateboard?
I remember falling off of it, the roof of the car, jumping. Remember we jumped on the roof and we were trying to hold on like Mission Impossible style, and he's
then
trying to shake us off.
and he shook us off.
It was like,
That
But
doesn't feel good.
no, but it was. I don't know why it was a rush to like jump on there and hold on.
Yeah, we did. Dude, do you remember?
We should be dead.
Do you remember Spencer? you remember Spencer and the Datsun truck pickup?
Oh,
truck, that
yeah,
blue
yeah.
Pickup truck driving
In the lake.
Yeah, down at driving to not Merwin, but
Yale.
Yale Reservoir.
When we wanted to jumpstart the boat battery because it was dead because that thing was the most ghetto, trashy boat ever. And we were trying to water ski in the campground. And so Spencer's like, well, he's got an old Datsun pickup that is
Yeah, that thing had 4-wheel drive.
dead.
Though.
Let him drive. I don't think it did.
It got 4-wheel
Did it?
drive.
Was
though.
it four?
It did.
I just remember him.
It was a stick though.
It was a stick, and he couldn't drive a stick very well. So he pulls down into the
Next to the boat
launch, down the boat launch,
nose first.
so we could
Put
get
the butt into the boat towards the nose of the truck and get
And
the
stretch some
batteries.
jumper cables, which electricity and water and that just, like none of it was a smart idea.
I didn't get to see, I never saw him though actually run it in.
Well, we started the boat and we got the boat going, and
Is
he
that
drove
what
off.
it was? That's what it was.
So Brent, now he's in the now we're done. We shut
Now
the
he needs to
hood. Now he needs to
out.
back it out. But he had to go really deep in there in the first place to get so the battery could reach, right? So he's in there pretty deep, but not too far. He can back out, the engine isn't underwater. But then every time he put in the clutch to back it out, it would start to roll forward, and he'd chicken out and put his foot back on the brake.
He kept eking forward.
And it kept getting deeper and deeper into the water until finally it just went in and just started filling in through the doors. And he's like, and he panicked, and it just it went underwater. And so he's swimming out of the car, and the truck dies underwater.
I remember because I took the boat over to close to the campground, and I remember getting the Suburban.
Well, and Russ was there, and we were like, hey, go get somebody. Tell them we need some help. We need to hook up a car to the Datsun to pull it out, maybe the Suburban. So the campground's asleep because we wanted to get on the water while it was all glassy smooth in the morning to water ski. So he runs on this dike that's above the campground, and he yells, hey, go get the truck. Spencer's Datsun is in the lake. So the whole campground gets up in their like robes and blankets.
They come and
there was
watch
like
the
a
show.
crowd of like 40 people standing around watching us pull this Datsun out of the lake. We pull it out, and I'm like, it's toast. There's no way it's going to work. I mean, it's toast. He turned the key, it started up, and water shot out the exhaust and drove it off.
Hey, people clapped after that. It worked.
Yep. So
That sucker should have killed us so many times, though, because it was like a 2-seater. It wasn't really room
it was the
for-
worst. I mean, it
We're
was
in
one
the
of
back
the
of the pickup
coldest
truck.
nights of my life, where we were all in we were wearing our shorts because we were in the lake hanging out, water skiing and everything. It was hot, but at night the temperature would drop and be really cold. Plus, you have the wind. So we jumped in the back of the truck in wet shorts, and we start driving down the road.
We went to go to the
to
grocery
get
store.
The grocery store or some firewood or something.
Yeah, some steel
And so there's
wood.
like 8 guys in the back of the truck bed. And then there's like a 2-seater in the front cab. It's a mini little old Datsun.
Do you remember how many speeding tickets Spencer got?
A lifetime worth in like a year.
I don't remember how many he got. I do remember that
Didn't they take away his license and stuff?
it was up to $900 a month is what he had to pay insurance to keep his license. And he was paying it like an idiot. Do you remember too when he got contacts and a light and glasses and stuff? He used to drive Braille all the time. He would go thump, 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 thump. He's like, well, I know when I'm getting close to the lines. I'm like, dude, no wonder you're all over the place.
So this is the man driving the Datsun. And
At Mach speed.
we're in the back. And we get to where the gas station and the store is, and it's closed.
Do you
Well,
remember?
we don't have enough fuel to go back.
But hold on, are you forgetting? Remember that one guy came up to us and he was a local firefighter, and he chewed Spencer
Not
out.
yet.
Oh, is that later?
Yeah, that's after an hour drive, freezing to death in the truck bed. I was curled in the fetal position, like all of us, and we were so merry and happy when the journey started. And then we were all in the back, like dying in this.
Popsicles.
And then we rolled into the gas station, and a cop rolls out. I thought it was a cop.
It wasn't because he's like, I remember because he didn't give him a ticket. He's like,
So fireman rolls up, sees us in the back of the truck. We all get up and go into the restroom.
and leave Spencer
Leave
there.
him there by himself.
He got chewed out, though. That guy's like, you know what? That's the stupidest, most reckless driving because he was trying to keep up with Spencer, Yeah.
Chewing him out. And
Yeah, some of the stuff that we did was just really dumb. That one's mine. Shut it off, Brent.
Yep, that was
But those were
crazy.
some good times with Spencer. Yeah, so we had some fun times. Well, we originally started out with the bulls. That first bull on Calling a Rock. Do we want to go back? That was an awful long tangent, dude. I don't know
Well,
if we want to circle back to that or not.
I know that the point is you just were able to kill elk. Just you didn't follow the plan, but that's okay.
Well, so there's that one you called in. Didn't really have anything figured out.
We called in a bunch. I mean,
But that one, I did such the biggest rookie mistake because that bull came in, stopped broadside,
with a tree kind of
but
blocking,
he had like this 3-inch tree
blocking his vital,
blocking
area.
his vitals. And so I'm at full draw thinking, well, I don't want to hit that tree. So I shift a little to the right instead of to the left. Or if I wasn't gone to the left, I would have hit his shoulder anyways. And then I let it rip. Shot him, killed him. We started raining. We tried tracking him. So that was kind of
The
a
thing
big
is,
learning mistake there.
which was weird because you hit exactly where
I hit
you
exactly where I was
aimed,
aiming.
but the aiming point was dumb.
It was dumb. I'm a rifle hunter at that point. It's our first real archery hunt. And we had gone up early for a weekend or a week and
Because you're like, I'm just going to avoid that branch. But then you didn't consider where the arrow was actually going to
hit the elk.
hit the elk. Yeah. It was,
So going back to you never calling in an elk for me, you called that elk in.
true.
And
you
then
did
the
sit
bull
still
that-
for that.
And then the bull that I killed,
I called that elk in, but you still ran after it.
you called the elk in. That's calling it in.
I
Just
know,
because
but-
I moved in at the same time while you were calling it and letting me know where it's at. That is
what
calling
I'm-
the elk in.
It is, but what I'm talking, we did that a lot.
It's a
The
strategy.
thing
and it
is
worked.
it's not like you and I are next to each other when we call it in. You were like 200 yards away from me.
Yeah, still.
And it was coming in. I mean, you totally went
I just went in and I killed
on
it.
your own, ninja style,
I
at the
followed
elk
his bugle,
and intercepted him.
intercepted him, and
Yes.
shot him.
And you did that with the
And
other
then,
bull?
And then next year, same thing.
Yes.
We ran into that bull.
I
as
just
we're hiking
bugled so
in.
you could follow him. I bugled for like an hour. And I bugled even after I couldn't hear him anymore.
That took a
'Cause
long
I
time.
knew he could hear
I
me.
shadowed those elk for a good hour plus.
And then you got in front of him, and he walked right
Eventually.
to you, and you shot him at like 30 yards.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. You come back to camp with me and Anthony. And
I
you're
was
like,
so disheartened when I got back to where we dropped our packs because we're before daylight. We drive like late at
Mm-hmm.
night, get there at 3 a.m. We're like, well, let's just go. And we started hiking in and run into this bull and his cows right at daylight, right at twilight. I mean, it was literally not even necessarily legal shooting when we first got to him,
Yeah.
but there was snow, so we could see. But anyway, hours later, I ended up shooting him and went back to where we first found him in my pack, and I knew where our camp was, where we were going to go. And you guys didn't grab my pack. I had to take my own pack, and I had just
What a baby. What a baby.
gone after that herd. And,
So tell me this. You've hunted elk now. I'd say you're a seasoned and skilled elk hunter, bow hunter, archery elk hunter. What are the things that are so different now compared to then? Like, how are you a killer now and back then struggling?
wind was a big one. We didn't really pay a lot of attention to wind. I don't know if you remember that one bull that we were side hilling and we're like, oh, there he is. We're just going to bugle and he's going to come right to us. And well, he went in that circle,
All you do is just
caught our
walk up
wind
and smell us.
took off. But so wind was a big one. Learning how to bugle, to call elk. I wouldn't call myself by any means a phenomenal elk caller, but enough to get it done and make the right noises. I mean, there was times there where I couldn't even get the right noise to come out when I wanted to. And
Yeah, you're still not a great caller.
yeah, but
It's just you're serviceable. You can do it, but
yet I've called in bulls for you.
anybody could do that. I mean, we were hunting in Arizona.
Anybody can do that. Anybody can do that.
The thing is if I had to choose between you or Anthony calling for me,
Oh, me too.
yeah, it's Anthony
Oh, yeah.
by a million miles. Sorry, Ben.
I just have this weird thing with my mouth where I have to use those mini sonic domes. Otherwise I gag on them.
Yeah, I think
And you can't get this big manly noise coming out when you got this itty bitty little squeaker.
yeah.
So
No, I
limited.
think that right there is just a factor of the odd genetic shape of you versus you're sort of defective, and so most people's calls won't. Most of the designed ones, you might need to enlist.
I am perfect and everybody else is defective. Let's not discount that.
I think if people
possibility.
just take one look at you, they can tell you're defective.
No, that's definitely not how it goes. But you can think what you want.
Yeah.
But that was, I think another thing is time in the field. You learn so much by being out there and I mean, I think back to all those years growing up of doing some rifle hunting, and it was just packing around, hiking as far as we could, getting in close and trying to shoot something. And I can tell you how many times I got, things didn't go right because I wasn't playing the wind. Or whatever went wrong there. So, getting close. I remember that first year when we called that one in for me, and I was hooked for archery there, just getting close and having them screaming and bugling. It's hard to beat that. I still love a good rifle hunt, but, like the one I just did with my boys, that was fun. And
you have some flashes of brilliance in the woods, but then you do some dumb things, and I'm like, what were you thinking?
Dude, I would say name one, but then all I know is you're going to spout lies, and we don't got time for that.
What about last year when you called to those elk right when I was in the kill zone? You should have gone behind the rock and done it.
When I couldn't. I was cameraman.
No, we
and
talked
I was
about
getting the shot.
I like your attention to. You're like Spielberg now.
Oh,
Just was a momentary lapse of judgment.
You should have just killed one. I mean,
I should have just let one rip at 120.
yeah.
Yeah, no, they were moving too much, but
That was fun though.
that was awesome. And
Yeah, I'll take ownership on that. I was kind of getting too caught up in the whole camera guy thing and
filming
and
trying to play two roles at once.
Yeah, and I was like, he wants me to call. All right, I'll call. Instead of we're both out in the kind of the open behind little rocks and stuff. And
The elk looked right up
like,
at Ben. We're like, yeah, that ain't an elk. Sorry.
peace out.
It was over. The whole mountain erupted.
Yeah. Then I got to see the less pleasant side of Brian.
Oh, yeah.
And the frustration.
You get to see the.
just because we're family doesn't mean you get to treat.
No, I do that to everybody.
No, it's just not
Even Aaron. Aaron almost.
punched you.
Yeah.
I punched you.
Yeah. Never hurt though.
That's because I'm a nice guy like that.
I would say though that wind is probably the one thing you're very conscious of now, to the point where, but you're also extremely sneaky. Like a lot of these animals that you kill, you're able to predict where they're going to be, and you're there waiting for them in ambush as they come through.
There's that, and being physically fit enough.
I was going
to say,
let's
get to where they are.
Let's be real too. Like a lot of these animals that you killed, you used a lot of physical ability to put yourself in position. Like you were able to outrun elk, get up a mountain, get in front of them, and then get them as they came through a pass.
Well, that's how that 2015 the Hell's Canyon bull, that one horn bull.
Exactly. So is the Desolation bull.
The Desolation bull, yeah.
Both of them. Even the one you intercepted, the first one you ever killed.
Yeah.
You ran across that flat, and he may have hit the flat and stopped and just hung
Right.
up, but you were already on the other side when he got
I
there.
can remember, seeing animals with rifle hunting, in the thick woods, and then just chasing them
Yeah.
and staying right with them. But then when they stopped and give me a shot, I was sucking wind so bad I couldn't hit nothing. It happened to me twice.
But you killed some deer like that, even though you were sucking wind.
Yeah.
Took 4 shots or something, but
Yeah, stupid mule deer just stood there looking at me, let me shoot at him until I hit him.
that's kind of why I like mule deer hunting. They're a little more forgiving for some reason.
It was good stuff.
Yeah.
Elk hunting's awesome. It's good fun.
Well, we're headed out tomorrow morning. And,
Yeah.
we got a couple of weeks to get it done, so we'll keep everybody posted, and we'll record a couple of shows on the hunt while we're there. Keep them short, just recaps, and take people along so they can get a recap each night of what our hunt's like,
Yeah.
and follow the ups and downs, and hopefully they're mostly just ups.
Usually is.
Be nice
Usually
to
is,
kill a
but,
bull on the first day instead of the last day.
No.
I'm kind of like,
Here's the thing that's
Well,
never happened to us. That would be nice.
I got 2 tags, so I don't mind shooting one and then shooting another
Yeah,
one.
but see, I'm first up for shooter, and you just need to resign yourself to the fact that you don't get to hunt this week.
No. I think what we ought to do
Unless
is take turns.
if there's a big monster,
You can go day 1, I go day 2, you go day 3, I go day 4, day 5, like that.
if that's how we had originally started from day one, that would be fine. But we've never done it that way.
Or we attack it like this, okay? If there's a bull that's in a situation where it's more killable by me than you,
which is just not going to happen.
and then if there's
how
a bull
is there a
the other
situation
way,
where you could kill it but I couldn't?
most situations are going to be like that.
It's the opposite. So that's a farce. Remember how stupid we were in the beginning, where whoever sees it gets to go after it?
Yeah, that didn't work very well.
Not for you. You never saw nothing. Me and Anthony always beat you up. And then Anthony backdoors me and eagle caps.
Oh yeah, I remember
Kills
that.
the smallest elk ever. And
Yeah, that was
that was another one that haunts me to this day. Big old bull.
eagle
Had
cap
him-
hunt.
Had him at 50 yards full draw. But he's standing there broadside, but he had a 3-inch branch right there.
I'd say for me,
I thought I could get closer, and I couldn't.
I'd say for me, one of the reasons I'm more lethal now than I was years ago is just my archery skills.
Yeah.
They're just on another level.
I'm okay. I'm an okay shot. I need to definitely spend some more time in the off season. Living in Arizona, I mean, it's still 105 degrees out right now. I'm just 2 years, and I am getting acclimated to that temperature.
No thanks.
It's just not fun to shoot in that.
No.
So I need to get into go to a shooting range or some indoor shooting range.
Well,
But
it'll be cool. I'm excited.
it's always fun. It's always fun.
As we wrap up the Gritty podcast, you got anything you want to add? Any words of wisdom or advice you want to leave? Anything you want to? Any closing thoughts?
I will say something. Something. It's been really neat to kind of watch you go through this whole podcasting journey, and kind of in the beginning, we, like you've mentioned many times on a lot of the podcasts, we thoroughly enjoyed ourselves as we would go out and hunt, and then we kind of picked up some cameras and started taking our own footage. I remember that eel cap, when we got back from the eel cap hunt, and we sat down we had a barbecue, fried up our elk that we killed, and we sat down and we watched that. Our kids and our wives would not watch it. You know why? Because it was raw. There was no editing. We were sitting there like, yeah. And they're like, this is stupid. It's boring. But your whole, that process of getting to that point, and then we getting together, let's make some videos and DVDs and sell some stuff. And then Brian's like, this podcast thing's kind of cool. Let's do a podcast, and then we can promote this, and kind of just hitting all kinds of stuff. And me and Anthony are like, podcast? Dude, that's all you, Brian. you got the gift of the gab. You can kind of talk with people and just real personable. And boy, it's just been cool to watch it from then to now and kind of be, family and kind of see you and kind of see this whole thing grow. And it's just been really neat. I have learned a lot that if you hadn't kind of gone down this road, never would have learned, because a lot of the stuff, your questions you're asking, we're kind of in the same boat.
I learned a lot from Snyder. I learned a lot from Corey Jacobson. I learned a lot from Jason Phelps. Like, you remember, name it. It's like,
can you remember that very first podcast that I was a part of with Corey Jacobson? I was sweating profusely. I looked like a deer in the headlights.
You were nervous.
I was like, this sucks. I gave it a whirl, Brian. Peace out. That's all you. You're the podcaster. And then it just took off, and it's just been great. It's been cool to watch.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm enjoying the journey. It's a lot of
hard work. A lot of people don't
see some of the fun parts of it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's a job.
I remember watching you. And trying to help where I would. I remember getting that Final Cut Pro and buying an iMac, and I was, I'll try and help wherever I can to edit. I watched some videos, and I gave it a good couple of hours.
You got okay. I mean,
it's hard.
It is. It was
to watch all that stuff and self-taught and to learn that stuff. I was like, holy smokes! I'm like, I gave up.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work and effort.
But it's sure is rewarding to tell your story. To put it out there and have people see it, and to tell a story about things that matter to you. And I think. You and Anthony and I have some camaraderie there that since childhood, and you can't replace that. That is something that we cherish, and that's between us, that can never be taken away or changed. And we go out and as adults, men go out and hunt, and all of those years of all these experiences we've been talking about is in our back pockets, and so there's a certain amount of, there's just nothing I can't say to you or you to me, which we do all the time. And that's rare. I think most of the time with most people, I don't think there's very many people on this planet I'm more blunt with than you, and you with me.
Right. Kind of. But with that said, usually we're like, whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
we may hear, but I don't agree with that. I'm doing my thing.
Yep. It doesn't mean I agree with you.
No,
but we're definitely open, and I think it's because there's a deep trust. We've been through a lot together.
It's been a really neat journey, the hunting with Anthony and going for, we learned, it's different strengths and weaknesses. Anthony's phenomenal at the points, the research, the map, and just
the glassing and the calling and the behavior.
He's very well rounded, and
and he never quits.
He never quits. Yeah, intense personality. We like to tease him that if we were the only ones that could put up with him and be good hunting buddies with him. Which there's a kernel of truth to that too. But.
Well, the thing is, and I've found this to be true, that not a lot of people. I don't like to hunt with. I want people that are as into hunting as I am to hunt with. And if I perceive you as someone not as dedicated, not as hardworking, not as interested, then I get irritated. It interferes with my hunting, and it's really selfish. Like, hunting is.
I'm the same way.
Now, if I go out with my daughter or my wife, I'm like, okay, this is for them. This is what it's about. But if we're out with a bunch of dudes and we're going to go hunt elk, and everybody wants to be a weenie and not climb the mountain where the elk are, I'm ready to find another hunting partner.
Dude, I've always been down with that. I've always wanted to go in the hole.
I can just say, like last year when we were in Colorado, remember we hiked all the way out, like 6 miles or 7 miles out, and got to the truck, and we're like, we don't know where the elk are. We're going to go down to this other valley and look there and move positions. And we're sitting there hanging out, shooting bows before we go. And you look up on the mountain, and on the mountain where we just hiked from, there's like 100 elk screaming there. And we're like, all right, let's go back. and we just hiked right back because that's where the elk were.
Got there in the dark.
Hit him
did
in the
some
morning.
Math skills. And that's another thing, too, dude. I'll just put that out there real quick. Not a lot of people know, and you've mentioned this before, especially with Aaron in the beginning, how horrible you were with sense of direction. Growing up with you, I was surprised when we first started hunting that. I was like, do you remember? I don't know if you remember, but anyway, I
do. I got lost a lot.
I was blown
That's why
away.
I carried 2 GPS units.
I didn't believe you at first. I'm like, he's just playing, whatever, because you were on the radio, and I'm like, well, I can see you. It's getting dark enough. Can you see my headlight? I see your headlight. Well, yeah. I'm like, well, just follow that. And you're like, but it's going to get dark. I'm like, well, just keep walking in the same. I couldn't comprehend it. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah. No, I struggled with direction and stuff. And
yet
terrain.
Now, going back to that Colorado hunt, just the map skill, the general sense of direction, you've really honed that one down. That's been interesting to see too.
It's interesting because I don't know. That just came from effort, study, practice.
Yeah.
And now I feel very confident just going out. I mean, I got familiar with a compass and with, direction and east and west and north and maps and elevation and topography, handrails and just the likes and having Aaron as a mentor on that stuff really, really taught me that backcountry stuff so that, now, there used to be a point where I'd be a little worried about going out alone because finding your way back, I'd get lost, especially if we got into chasing elk and covered a few ridges and then down this canyon. It's like, where am I?
See, which was weird to me because I always knew I had this mental map, because I kind of see where I was at, and I would always try and make a loop so I wouldn't have to hunt back the same way I came. There was a couple of times there where I was like, this isn't turning out to, I'm not hitting where I want to, but
you could always figure where you were at.
I could always go back the way I came.
Yeah.
I had enough recall there where I could always backtrack.
At some point it just clicked. And now I feel like I'm very, I don't know. It's not even something I have to work out now. It's just.
That's definitely an example of taking a weakness and now making it a strength.
Yeah. It's cool. I mean, I think archery skills are totally different too. Like I learned a lot about archery and how to shoot and how to hunt but how to shoot has been a journey. I've experimented a lot. I've failed a lot. There are things that I was pretty good at keeping it simple, but when I started to extend my shooting range and I started to, switch around different setups and it's still, if anything, it's like the more you learn, the more you realize there's so much more to get good at. And I thought I kind of had it dialed and I didn't. I thought I had it dialed lots of times and I didn't. And now I'm really finally at a point where I'm feeling really good.
Yeah, you've definitely got a step ahead of me, but I've definitely had that stage too where we first got the bows and, hey, finally can hit the target and, getting the pins to 20, 30, 40. And when I was starting to hit stuff at 50, I was feeling pretty dang good.
Yeah.
And then killing a couple of bulls, that way. And then after that, getting a new bow, a nicer new bow a few years later and starting to go to the 60, the 70, the 80, and the 90 to 100. And, could never imagine of doing that before and figuring out the knock tuning and all the, just all that stuff that, shooting the broadheads before instead of just, when those first couple of bulls I killed, I think it was a Reflex Grizzly bow.
From Cabela's.
I bought their kit. I had Cabela's arrows and
that thing,
Muzzy broadheads.
I could throw a
that sucker
a
had
stick
some
faster
arch.
than you could shoot.
That thing was a rainbow shooter. Well, my draw is 27.
I just remember this arrow slowly eking out, and then you get like 4 inches of penetration, and the deer, and then this giant bull would die. And I'm like, you are the luckiest sucker ever.
You just got to hit where you're supposed to.
And you did. You did. You got the worst penetration on air. And still, I haven't seen, even when you shot that bull in Hell's Canyon. I mean, your arrows go about 6 inches in at
but
tops.
that Hell's Canyon, he was quartering away. I think I hit his offside shoulder.
And it bounced out?
No, it was still sticking in. Remember the videos, those pictures
There's
and stuff?
no way it hit the offside shoulder. You got like half the arrow sticking out.
It doesn't matter. It's
It killed him.
It killed him, but you're right. I don't even remember my feet per second on that thing is shoots. But yeah, with my small little draw, I don't shoot a fast bow to start with. So,
yeah. But it's one thing you get close.
I've been real impressed with these Valkyrie though, especially that deer you just shot in Montana.
Yeah.
Pass through and taking on the was it the offside shoulder coming out?
The offside leg.
The bone.
Just the thickest part of the leg bone.
This destroyed it. I was telling you today, that looks like a gunshot. It's almost like a bullet taking that thing. So that might be something people to consider in my position, where we don't have very long draws and we got
better designed arrow. We spend a lot of money on bows, and we kind of just grab an arrow. And it's like, the arrow and the bow are married. It's a marriage. And when you have a really, really stellar arrow design and broadhead and setup, and I think with good FOC, I'm finding that my results with what I'm shooting today compared to what I shot just last year are night and day difference. And there's animals that I would have killed with this system that I did not kill with some mechanicals and expandables that I used.
My blacktail. Remember that little forky? That was a pass-through. That's my only pass-through.
That thing, it's like you shot a little tiny fawn, Ben.
Dude, there's pictures to prove that is not true.
Oh, it was a fawn with horns.
There's pictures.
Little fawn, baby.
No.
Of course he shot through it.
It was bigger than what you shot.
Oh.
All right, dude.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Let's get going.
We've got some serious packing, and we got some stuff to do.
Yep.
So we can get.
Thanks for coming on the podcast, and
yeah, it's been fun.
We'll do more.
It's one thing to sit around camp and hunt and chit chat and banter, but sitting in this fancy office and putting these cameras in your face, that's a little intimidating. Not as bad as that first time with Corey, but whew.
Yeah, we don't have a band playing in the background.
No.
Yeah, I'm going to hunt with Corey this month. After you leave, I'm going to do a week with Corey.
When's he get there? Are we I probably might leave before he shows up. I don't know if we'll do any trend.
I don't think he'll run into him.
Probably not.
No. It's going to be cool.
Unless the hunting's phenomenal and I have to stay.
Which you've been known to do. All right, folks.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Gritty Podcast. Send your comments, leave your comments on email and stuff, and we really appreciate that. And leave us a review on iTunes if you're liking the show. And as always, stay gritty. Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place and time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.